Before the main topic of the video begins, I just wanted to discuss how much I love, and I mean love, the Pokemon Let's Go promo art. The art style is just wonderful overall, but the line work really gets me. It's thick, but it's rough at the same time. It gives rigidity to these images that are just overall adorable at the same time because of their proportions and facial features and style in general. It really has this sort of nature to it that just appeals to my sensibilities, and I don't know how better to describe it than that. It's honestly gorgeous, and it really has a unique flair of its own that feels honestly very Pokemon. And I really do appreciate the fact that we're getting away from those slimmer, taller designs and going back to those stumpier designs we had back in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I think that was a peak in terms of art style for the series, and I really do appreciate us going back to that route. We don't need these overly tall or realistic characters in Pokemon. We need characters that look like they belong in Pokemon. And I really, really do like the way it looks. Okay, enough of me gushing. Video intro. Hello everyone, I'm Carthu and welcome back to my game room. It's been a couple of days, I think. I did miss Monday's upload for the Nuzlocke, and of course, because this video is going out today, there will be no Nuzlocke today. I'll push it back to tomorrow. Today was supposed to be an hour special of the Nuzlocke because I missed Monday, and I do apologize for missing today as well, but you're getting this video instead, which I think is a more interesting topic overall than just someone playing a game you've already seen played a million times. As the views show, you guys are more interested in this stuff, and that's fine. The consistency on that series is just to supplement these bigger and better topics. And honestly, it's actually to supplement a future video topic, which is a review of Pokemon Red, and then eventually other generations and other games and gens as a whole. But that is a long-term plan. We'll see how that goes, and maybe I'll do it a bit differently than I've been thinking about doing it. Anyway, that's not for this video. As you saw by the thumbnail and title, we are discussing when does Pokemon Let's Go take place. I think I figured it out. So, let's talk about the latest trailer first, and all the other little things that have been shown to us in this game. I do have a bunch of bullet points written down, and I'll just sort of elaborate on them one by one. The first is, of course, that we have a game with different protagonists and a different rival than the original gen. So, you obviously had Red and Blue in the original gen. Now you have Chase and his rival, Trace, who actually has a rhyming name to our main character, and I actually think that's kind of funny. Kind of like it, actually. It's a nice little touch. Now, those being different characters obviously would mean that this game takes place at a different time than Red and Blue, right? Well, we'll get into that. So, the gym leaders in this game are the same. Gold and Silver, which takes place 3 years after Gen 1, has different gym leaders and Elite Four members, Koga and Giovanni being the notable examples there. And this is important because it gives us a threshold of how long this game would take place after Pokemon Red and Blue, if it is taking place after them, and not before, maybe. See, if it's taking place after them, well, it would have to be in that 3-year gap at some point. But Giovanni still being at the gym is sort of a different issue. But let's talk about Koga first, because in Koga's case, he was actually promoted to an Elite Four member, and he was replaced at his gym by his daughter, Janine. Now, when he was promoted to Elite Four member, that was because Lance had to take over as champion, and they had a vacancy in the Elite Four. There's some other changes that go along there, but that's the basic gist of it. Then you have his daughter Janine taking over his gym, so seeing Koga at his own gym means, again, this has to be before the 3-year time skip between Pokemon Red and Blue and Pokemon Gold and Silver. So then you have Giovanni, who is the more interesting case, the former leader of Team Rocket, who reforms his ways after losing to you twice. The first time in Silphco, and the second time in his own gym, the Veridian Gym. Now, the Veridian Gym was something that was locked up to us from the very beginning of the game, and is something we can only access towards the end of our time in Kanto. To keep the gym order the same as the original games, that would mean the gym would have to be locked at the beginning of our journey, again making this a weird time placement for the overall game. But it gets even deeper than that, because after Giovanni loses to Red, he says he wants to go and study Pokemon. Now, it is possible to go and study Pokemon without actually having to the wilderness and doing all the research in the field and things like that, and you could possibly remain a gym leader, but it seems unlikely from the way he states it, so we assume Giovanni leaves fairly quickly after losing to Red. But then we get to the biggest revelation in the latest trailer, and that is the fact that Red, Blue, and even Green, you could swap the last two's name, Blue and Green, it depends on the release and the weird interchanging in Gen 1, but that's irrelevant. Being in this game in their young original designs, here is the art of them in the game, and here is the art of them from Gen 1. Now obviously, Green wasn't in the Gen 1 games, but was in concept art for it, and was in the manga and everything, so she was in concept at that point, she just wasn't executed at that point, but she is in her original design, not Fire Red Leaf Green for either of these designs, and it is utterly amazing because that actually might be the biggest revelation of all. But before we jump to conclusions there, we have to look back to the Elite Four then, where we notice that it's still Lorelei, Bruno, Agatha, and Lance. And then all this information together begs the question of when does this game take place? Because it's confusing then. Well, I actually think it's more clear than ever. And that's because your journey is at the same time as Red's, overall, in the grand scheme of Pokemon, which takes place over many years in terms of its overall timeline, you take place in the same year, quote-unquote, as Red. But you are just slightly behind them. You see, Red, Blue, and Green all chose the original 3 starters before you and your rival could even get there, leaving Professor Oak with only a Pikachu and an Eevee to give to you. This would also explain how the gym leaders and the Elite Four are all the same. You got to Giovanni before he left the Veridian Gym. Koga hadn't been promoted to Elite Four member yet. Red, Blue, and Green are all out on their journey as well, and you're running into them on their journey. You are potentially battling them on their journey, and you are making each other stronger on this trip and becoming allies, rivals, whatever, with the original 3, the original cast. But then I bet you're all wondering one thing. When you get to the Elite Four, when you defeat Lance, who is your champion? Of course, in the original games, Blue was the champion, but Blue is defeated by Red, who we are just behind, right? Well, that would leave only one option. If Lance isn't the champion yet, that means Red hasn't left yet. And if Red hasn't left for Mount Silver yet, that means your champion to face is none other than Red. I doubt it would be your rival, as it seems a bit far-fetched that they would have Red leave the minute he gets champion and then have your rival take over. No, in my opinion, it seems much more likely that Red will in fact be the champion. Sure, you may have a final rival battle, perhaps in Victory Road, but you will probably face Red as your final obstacle. The final wall to overcome. Now, of course, Red doesn't lose as champion in canon, or at least in old canon. They could retcon that to Red losing, and that is why he goes to train at Mount Silver to become stronger. He finds himself still too weak, so he needs to go train, which is actually a better motivator for him to go train than being the strongest trainer in the world at that point. Then you have your own character who may leave for whatever reason as well, or we could have a Sun and Moon situation where we defend the title. We'll see. And I think that was one of Sun and Moon's best features, so I'm kind of hoping. But I think this game puts us right behind Red's journey, tying loose ends with Team Rocket, finishing things that he didn't, and battling the gym leaders right after they were defeated by him and Blue. We are going on our own journey, but it's one that we are just behind. We are reaching ahead to the former glory of Gen 1. You know I'm not a big Gen 1 fan overall. I think they are good games, but I don't think they're the best. And I still think this is a real nostalgia trip for anybody who has any enjoyment of those games and had played them when they were younger. This should be really, really interesting, and I really hope you guys agree with me. If you don't, though, leave your opinions, counterpoints in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want more Pokemon videos, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload. Check out the Patreon. It's being worked on right now, the Patreon, but don't worry, I'm trying to update it to have all of my channels under the banner, not just my main one. But that said, guys, video, outro.